All right, we're about to get started in just a few minutes. Let's get set up. And what we're going to do tonight, I was on a stream earlier tonight or this afternoon. I was sending a lot of people the PDFs and things, so you guys can get a couple of these PDFs, I think, in the description here, as well as I've added in some of my recent videos PDFs. So we're going to go through a few of the examples in all keys and just talk about transposition. Just give me 1 second. Turn my volume down. All right. Make sure you say hello in the chat. I see a few people coming in, which is really awesome. We're really happy for that. All right, so we're going to start off a little bit easy tonight. I have a really cool lick. Here's what we're going to do for the lick we're going to do on all keys. I'll go ahead and play the lick now, and then make sure you guys, I will send you the PDF to this one if it's not on this description. Hold on one second. You can go to imusicacademy.com and sign up for my newsletter. I'll send it out there, or you can subscribe. I have several different PDFs that I just added, so I'm just looking for some of those now. There's a video that I just put up on the blues playlist that has this lick, but you add it with the blues, and it's a really nice lick for transposition. And then tonight we're going to do this one with the left hand bass being altered. And then when we get done with that, we've done a little practice there, I want to do this lick. We're going to learn how to, we're going to transpose that into all keys. All right, 1 second, let me get the camera set up. I don't know why this thing is so dark. All right, here we go. So the first example we're going to do is, let me pull up this alternate bass line. Let's take a look at this in just a second. Make sure you guys say hello in the chat. It's a little bit empty right now. Hi, hey Vic, how's it going? I'm going to let this thing pull up so I can see how that looks. Okay, cool. All right, so just for a minute, I'll let you guys look at this. But if you look on the screen here, I show the fingerings for everything, right? And what's happening here, if you don't read music, it's okay too, because I show you how to play it, show you where my fingers are. But I also like the idea of even downloading these for using the fingerings that I use. And also, if you're able to read along and learn how to read music that is very simple like this is, it's a repeated bass line over and over, you can really start to read music, and I would encourage everybody to learn how to read music. So in the left hand, what I'm doing here is just a newer rhythm. Usually we've been doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and in this example, we change it up just a bit. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So that's all you have to think of it. It's a C triad, 1, 3, 5 of the scale. And then when you go to F, you have the same bass line rhythm. And then the only other note you have, or only other chord you have to do is G. Same thing, 1, 3, and 5. So let me play this example of how it is, at least the first couple of bars. So just like in blues example 1, this is what we do. Let me take it off the example real quick so you guys can see. So in blues example 1, you have this idea of just doing this is the most basic example that we have that starts off. It kind of gets you guys motivated and encouraged. So C major, you're sliding from the flat third to the major third. Always rocking it against the C. 1 and I like the fingering 2 and 4 here on the F in second inversion. And then I go up to a C7 without the third, so the third's missing, so now I have C, G, and B flat. So you get used to that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And I just realized that my left hand is not in the shot. Let me put it back up just a little bit. That would sort of defeat the whole purpose of alternate bass lines. Okay. Guys, let me know if it's bright enough. It just feels a little bit dark tonight for me. Okay, so here we go. This is the regular way we do this. And the bass line that I just showed you guys is just thinking a little bit different. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and And the most important thing to remember there is where do the beats line up, left hand and right hand. So I do 1 and 2 and 3. So it comes on the end of 2. 1 and 2 and notice that it's a C with my thumb, and then the E for the third of that chord on the end of 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and when I get to that G note, I'm on beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we start over. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and don't be in a hurry with this stuff. If you guys aren't used to practicing this kind of thing, if it seems like it's advanced, what you have to do is you just have to break it down and do it very simply, like get used to playing this triad, and then you work on the C, F, and A for a second inversion. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and when you actually put this together and you're reading the sheet music, you're learning how to put the right hand and the left hand together. 1 and 2 and. So I can do that as one little section. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When I'm on 4 and, F and A against the C. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Let me turn that alarm off. All right, let's try that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, this is an obvious thing if you guys have been using my blues courses or following my tutorials and everything. We're doing the same exact thing when we go from C to F. The same exact fingering happens. We're doing an F triad in the left hand. In the right hand, you just have an F chord. You're sliding from the flat third to the major third to, in this case, a B flat in second inversion, and then up to the F7 chord without the third. So you have this. I'm not even certain that my stream is actually recording right now. It kind of froze up. So you guys can let me know in the chat if we're live or not. I have no idea. As I mentioned to a few of my students today, I'm doing 2 streams tonight. One's going to be a late night stream, and the other is just kind of going over a little bit of practice. So let's see. I might be back on. Let's see. Okay, so let's go ahead and move along, assuming that I'm back online again. Okay, so that lick in that baseline example is something that you need to be able to do in all keys, right? So first one is in C, and that's what I call the slide fingering. And in other words, you're sliding on from the flat third to the major third. And now we're going to go ahead and transpose it. So Vicky, pick another key. I might not be live right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and practice until I get some feedback on whether or not we're still live. I've been having a lot of trouble with my internet. Vicky, are you still there? All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and practice how you're going to transpose this. We'll start with you, Vicky. So what you're going to do is, in this case, let's start with this kind of more advanced lick. And I want you to think about 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then, instead of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I want you to break it up into triplets. So 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. All right, so let me go ahead and break the lick down. This is one of those where it's either a slide key or it's a crunch key or a hammer-on key. In this case, when I want you to look at the C7, 1, 3, 5, and flat 7 of a major scale. In order to transpose this and be very successful transposing, going through all keys, there are a couple things we need to do to make this easy. The first thing is go up to the sharp 4 of whatever the key is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and sharp the 4. And then you have the flat 7 of the key in the right hand pinky. So you have 2, 3 is your fingering, 2, 3, and 5. But you're holding the top note the whole time. So that's the first thing. 1 and then is the rhythm. 1 or 1 triplet. And now you go to, we just played a C chord, and now we're doing an F chord in second inversion. So just think about that. It's an F chord in second inversion. So it's going to the 4 of the key from the triad point of view. So here's your C7. Now here's your F in second inversion. And then all you have left to do is go up to the minor third and the 5th note of C major and slide to the major third and then hit your thumb on the triad. So it's all triplet rhythm. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. I like to say 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. And in my left hand, this is where counting in triplets helps you really get the left hand. So what I'm going to do is 1 and then 2 and then. So it's the triplet of 2. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Let me do that right. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 and then 2 and then. So there's the third part of the triplet. 1 and then 2 and then. The third triplet, third note in the triplet of the second beat. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then. 3 and then 4 and then. So that's the cool thing, is on beat 4 it's just 4 and then, 4 and then, 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and. Let me slow it down again. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and so 3 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and. All right, now Vicky, what's the 4 chord in the key of C blues? Trivia time. Right, F chord, very good. So same exact fingering, But now I'm starting on the sharp 4 of an F chord, an F7 chord to be more specific, F, A, C, E flat. And what I'm doing is going up to the sharp 4 to the 5 to the 1. And the reason that you're able to easily transpose that is because all you have to do is think of it as a simple F7 chord, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, and all I'm doing is starting on the sharp 4 of an F major scale, and I have my pinky on the flat 7 at the top, and all I'm doing is fingering 2 and 5, 2, 3, 1 down to the root, and I'm holding the top note. And then I have to go to the 4 chord triad of F, which is B flat, and I'm in second inversion. And then the very last part is to go minor third to major third and root. I'll do it very slowly. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3. 1 and then 2 and then 3. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 3 and then 4 and then, and the cool thing again about beat 4 is just 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. Alright, what's the 5 chord? Very, very easy. And we're going to go through this in all keys, guys, so buckle up, get ready. And as you learn how to transpose this, I want to really get to where we're thinking about things in all keys. Whatever we're going to do, we're going to try to do it in all keys. And I have a lot of really good strategies for that as well, so that you don't get overwhelmed. A couple of people, I see people are starting to get in. If you guys would say hello in the chat if you get a second. First names, I'd love to kind of see how you guys are doing. Right, GBD, very, very cool. The cool thing about this is that GBD, all we're going to do is the same thing. I think of the G major scale now, and I go 1, 3, 5, flat 7 of a G major scale. And what I'm going to try to do now is outline this lick by saying, okay, my pinky's already on the right note. It's on the flat 7. And now I'm going to go up to my sharp 4, or flat 5th, however you decide to think of it. And I do 2 and 5 as the fingering, up to my middle finger on the 5th note of the scale, and then to the root. So you get this under your fingers. Same exact fingering as you did on C and F. Now, if I'm in G, what's the 4 chord of G? It's C. So now there's my C in second inversion. And notice another pattern is my thumb stays on G. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. So let me break that down really slowly in the left hand. 1 and then 2 and then. There's a little bit of a rub there because I'm on a B natural and a B flat, but then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. And once again, notice that 4 and then, 4 and then, 4 and then, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it all together. If you are enjoying this video, consider at least giving it a thumbs up, since I see that 0 people have done that. Here we go from the beginning. Now I'll go to I will go to the 4 chord and the 5 chord, but before I play it all the way through, just want to encourage you to take your time with this stuff. One idea that you loop over and over is not a bad thing. You're practicing your feel, just getting real comfortable with it, and as you start to transpose, you can go back to the keys that are comfortable to you after you've worked on the keys that are more difficult. And we're going to go through the 2 different fingerings that you have to do for this lick. Here we go. Let's do it again. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and I'll do it 4 times. Now F, same thing. Back to C. G, F. Okay, so as a way of practicing this, guys, you're going to do that new bass line that we just did, where we played the little 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then, but also do blues 1 that we first did when we did this lick. Now here we go. Same thing on F, right? All right, so what am I doing there, right? I'm building this vocabulary that I can play in all keys, and you guys can do it too. This is not rocket science, or maybe it is a little bit. But it's just about learning how to learn is what I would say the key is. So let's talk about that. We're getting some people in here. If you guys would, if you're enjoying this, make sure you definitely like the video. I'm going to like my own video. I'm going to get the ball rolling here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through every key. If I get some thumbs ups, I want you guys to, if you're interested in playing things in all keys, then I want to make sure you guys do that. And there are just a few things you have to learn for this specific example. But the way I like to teach, many of you guys know this, is we build up a vocabulary that you'll be able to use, all different kinds of styles. I love classical, I love jazz, I love R&B, I love blues, I love everything. I love everything. And you can use all of your knowledge and skills for lots of different styles of music. So here we go. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to demonstrate. Those of you guys who are students of mine or you've been following me for a while, you know there's tons of material out there, but we still have to break down and learn this stuff and get it in all keys. So what happens, we have these flat keys we're able to slide off. But when you get to a sharp key, like for instance B, I have to hammer onto that third. So I'm still thinking of the triad, and I'm thinking of the 4 chord in second inversion, and then I'm thinking of the B7 chord. Okay, so I'm working on this particular fingering. Well, what if we go to B flat? It goes right back to that other fingering that we just hit, a slide key. Now, next is A major, which is a hammer-on key. Now, as I'm transposing this, I'm already thinking, well, there's a simple triad, and then it goes to the 4 in second inversion, and then it goes to an A7 chord. Just like we just did this lick here, we said, well, how are we going to play this lick? Let's play the new lick, and this lick, let's play this in a different key. So this one right here. All All right, somebody else pick a key. Somebody else pick a key. Vicky, you're on probation for just a minute. We're going to get somebody else to pick a key. And then what we're going to do next is put some of these licks and ideas together. Vicky, you have everything that I've ever made in terms of courses and things. So the same thing I'm recommending to everybody, I'm recommending to you, is you take these ideas and make them your own by first really getting them down. And let's say I'm going to use this bass line right here. One and two and three. So even though I did this lick, now I want to see how I can make it fit over this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now I want to learn that on F as well. Now on G. Does that make sense? All right. So let's learn it in one more key. So I'm going to do let's do another sharp key. So let's just pick, if I'm going to do F sharp. So instead of playing it in this lick in F, I'm gonna transpose it in F sharp. Now, a lot of people, when they think of the idea of transposing it into these keys you never play again, you think, how in the world am I going to do that? Well, we're going to dig into it. We'll do F sharp and then we'll do C sharp. Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing is in my left hand, let's go ahead and get the pattern there. So I'm going to go back to C and just talk through the way this pattern is. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. And what's happening is it's a C6, C, E, G, and the 6th note of the C scale makes that bass line pattern. So when I go up to F sharp, I'm doing an F sharp 6. So that's my bass line. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. So we've been working on this. Now in my right hand, how am I going to get this F trick, this lick on F up to F sharp? Well, it's actually quite simple. If you go ahead and play your F sharp 7 chord, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, and E. And remember that we're going to eliminate the 3rd note and we're going to hammer, we're going to go to the sharp 4 of F sharp, which is B sharp. You can look at it C natural if you want. But I'm doing that fingering when I go 2 and 5, hammering on to the 5th note. And I'm just going to practice that and get used to that. 1, 1, and then I have to get, what's the next thing I have to do? I have to go to the 4, I have to think about the 4 chord of F sharp as if I was playing an F sharp blues. And the 4 chord is going to be B. It's going to be the key of B. So watch this. And here's my chord. It was easy for me to get to a B chord in the 2nd inversion because I knew exactly where I was going. I'm going to a B in 2nd inversion. F sharp, B, and D sharp. So let me do that again. How am I going to transpose this lick that may sound kind of cool and complicated? How am I going to play it in other keys? Well, I'm going to go to an F7. I'm going to drop the middle note, and then I'm going to hammer on the sharp 4 to the 5, and I'm keeping the pinky up there at the top. And now I'm going to go to the 2nd inversion B chord. And then the very last thing is I'm hammering on from the minor 3rd to the major 3rd. So we have this. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and all right, key of B. How do I get that chord again? There's my B7. I don't need the third. I'm going to hammer on from the flat fifth to the fifth, or sharp 4 to the fifth, with my pinky up there on the A, and pinky's going to stay down. That's the flat 7 of B. And there's my root. And I have to go the 4 chord of B major, which is E, in second inversion. And the very last thing I have to do is hammer on from the flat third to the major third and the triad. There it is right there. So I'm going to practice that by itself. So this already has covered all the fingering. Just those 2 fingerings will help you get through the sharp keys and the flat key or the slide keys. So let's do D flat. Let's go back to C for a second, and now let's learn this same idea in in D flat. And once again, I'm going to go through the process. You have what I like to call comfort keys. You want to be working on all keys, but there's a point where you might get frustrated and feel like you're not making any progress. So at that point, you have to, 1, play your comfort key and then go to a nearby key. I like that. Or just say, for instance, today I'm just going to work on C and C sharp. There are all kinds of fun little games I like to tell my students are ways to practice to stay motivated and not get overwhelmed, okay? So we'll keep talking about stuff like that. Okay, so here we go. I want you guys to, we're going to do C and then D flat. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2. All right, so I'm going to play it on D flat, F, A flat, and B, which is C flat. And what I'm going to do is get rid of my third note, and all I need to do is hammer on from the sharp 4 to the 5 to the root in D flat. And I want to get comfortable with that. If I was playing a D flat blues, what's my 4 chord? Well, it's G flat, and there's my G flat in second inversion. And the very last thing I have to do is hammer on the minor third of D flat up to the major third and the root, and there's my triad right there. Now look how my hand is right now. I'm not way back over here. Sometimes I have students that want to play really far back. Well, I say you got to get up into the keys, okay? And then my fingering I'm doing is 2, 3, 1. So let me do that again slowly. And in my left hand, I'm doing the same exact thing, that I'm getting that D flat and then adding the 6th note. 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. And then let's say I'm having trouble with that. I'm going to go back to my comfort key. Now let's go up to D flat. You can do right hand only. 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 1 and then 2 and 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then. All right, so let's do another idea. You guys can work on that, and let's do one that I get asked about a lot. It's one of the easier licks that actually is a great thing to put into all keys. And I think I might have gone over it the other night. If we're in the key of C, you go to the third and up to the root. It's actually one of a quite popular video, and I get a lot of emails about. But it's simply going from the third up to the root. And so I go E, C, E, cross over on E flat, D, then I go C, A. So the trick is the fingering of always crossing over with your second finger. And for right now, I'll just end on the flat 7 and 5th note of C. So E, C, E, E flat, D, B flat, D, D flat, C, A, C, B, B flat, G. So how can I make this interesting? Well, first of all, I'm going to put, let's do a different bass line. We're going to do the one we just did of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So where does it line up with the left hand? We have to get to the and of 2. 1 and 2 and. So my E natural against my E flat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. My G is against my D. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Well, what did I do there? That was actually a little bit interesting there. So I'm playing down the scale and doing some chromatic things, but notice that I kept the scale going. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what I did is I crossed back over, and now I'm picking it up instead of doing third and root. Now I'm fifth, third, and I'm crossing over each time. So I just did a whole way of connecting that. Did anybody like that feel of doing that? Yeah, what's kind of nice is that I was already, when I went up to the F and I play the F, I was already close to the E of C. Now I'm going to go up to the third of G. All right, speaking of transposition, anytime you're transposing something and you use your theory knowledge, you can take the, for instance, that lick starts on the third and it goes up to the root. So any key I pick, I know I'm going to go to the third. G, I go to third up to the root. I go C. Well, what happens if I go up to D flat? Third up to the root. So I have to get my fingering and get up into the keys. I'm still doing the same kind of 1, 5, 1, 2. So I'm crossing over. 1, 5, 1, 2, 1, 5, 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. So D major, third up to the root. Does that make sense? Very cool. All right, so another way that I'm going to practice this is as I'm building up my vocabulary, what I'm going to do is start putting some of the ideas and licks together, and then I'll start making them my own. The first thing I'm going to do is to start very simply. Make sure I have that lick. F, C, now I'll start mixing it up. You guys get the idea. Okay, so let's see. We did this lick. We did this lick. And then we did this lick. Wait. And this one. So we also want to be able to play that over some different bass lines as well. So we did this bass line. We also did this. Or you go 1 and 2 and 3. Totally changes it, doesn't it? Or I can do Okay, so you have lots of ideas, lots of possibilities. You want to make sure that you can play those in all keys. And I tell you what, let's do a few more minutes. Since we don't see a lot of feedback in here, we may just do a lesson with you, Vicky. Definitely don't want to waste people's time here. Okay, so what we're going to do is, Vicky, there's something that you liked that I want to go over a bit. And that is the idea of learning more about funk and rhythms using the left hand and how to kind of build a solid foundation. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to, let's just go over some very simple chords that you can use, and then we'll talk about it over a lesson. So first thing is, as we're learning and building some rhythm for the left hand and the right hand and working together, we're going to start very simple. Like if I use F, B, and D, and an octave in the left hand. 1. I'm going to give you a couple triads. So that's like a G7. I'm doing F, B, and D to C. You can go to D minor. You can go to E minor. You can go to F. Go to G minor. You can go to G major. A minor. So the first thing we're going to do, and I'll keep it very simple, is you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So this is in its most basic sense. And then you can start doing things like 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 2. So you see how I'm kind of syncopating the rhythms now? Like the and. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. But the main thing is I'm keeping this guy going. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. I need to be very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Or I could go D, F. So that's another thing. Once you get a pattern locked in, you want to keep that bass rhythm, like get a kind of an ostinato bass. I'm going to loop that bass. 1. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So beat 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So even if I'm changing up the right hand, I'm going to still think beat 3, beat 4 are D and F. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4. I can't give up on that. Okay, so the next phase, and this is where it gets really, really cool. Now, that's basic 101, and I want you to be able to do this where you're just playing it together and getting it used to the triads, right? That kind of thing, or major. So the next part, this is where it gets really fun, is I want you to start thinking in terms of 16th notes. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2 and 3E, and so this is the trick. As we're getting used to this stuff, you're going to have to think and break your rhythms, subdivide your beats. So 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and yeah, say that again. Is the left hand, let me see if I can read that. Say that again. I can't quite understand what you're saying. What I will say is this, is we're going to take this in very small steps, but it'll really start to really feel good as you go through this process. As you first think about quarter notes, right? 2, 3, 4. And I like the hands working together, right? And just kind of get used to that one. Maybe something as simple as that at first. So we have like G7, 1, 2, 3, 4. And all I'm doing is quarter notes, right? And right in the right hand, I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 2, and 3. And that time I just did G minor instead of G major, kind of a little bluesy kind of turnaround, right? And 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. What I just do right there, I kept it simple. All right, let's see. Hold on a second. Octave, yeah. Absolutely, yes. So the left-hand part is an octave. That's a great point. If you got anybody who signs up to my email newsletter, you can download whatever you see, of course, on YouTube. There are tons of links. It'll subscribe to you to some of the lists where I send out PDFs. And I'm starting to get a lot of response on from my students of the funk things and the rhythm things. So we're going to start moving in that direction. But let's go ahead and I'm going to give you a couple of little tips and a couple of things to practice. So the first thing is you have this idea of the octave. Okay, that's a great point. Now, what makes this work, the octave works, is those people who have a really great left hand usually have a pretty great index finger to go with it. Okay, so they have their rhythms and they break them up like this: 1E and 2E and there's your 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E, and so it's like the 2E and 3E and you hear that a lot, right? You hear people go 5-1. Or I go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. I could go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So as I start using my left hand, and I'm not using a lot of pedal. That's another important thing. What am I doing right there? I'm turning around the beat. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. And notice that I'm 3E and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a. And I have all my triads to use. Okay, so let me show you a cool little rhythm. Are you guys ready for the cool little fun little rhythm that you can do? Let's get a couple of yeses in the chat. We're gonna make it a little bit interesting. So there are lots of really cool left-hand things that we're starting to move into that you guys will really be able to do, very practical stuff. But here's a fun thing to do to get you in the habit of using your index finger. We're going to do this. Okay, so if I'm in C, we'll think of this like a C minor, even though you could think of it lots of different ways. I'm going to give you a G minor. It's kind of like a C, kind of like a G minor 9 over C bass. That's the sound. Now, first, what's happening there? So I'm 3E and a 4E, and it goes back to that thinking about your left hand. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and the and of 3E and 4E and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and 1E and 2 and 3E and 4E and 1. So I can go. And a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E, 3E and a 4E, and a nice little loop there, right? Or you could do C minor. Or I could go. Anybody, you understand what I'm doing? Anybody? Or is that kind of is that a little much, Vicky? I don't want it to be difficult. It's not a bad exercise just to practice right there. So an easy way to think of that is you say, if I'm doing it over a C bass, and I have that whole 5-1 thing that we talked about, and all I'm doing is going to the fourth note of the scale up to the flat 7, and then the major. One more time slower. Okay, so I could write this out too. I may even have something like that written out. Okay, so here we go. I'll do it one more time, very slowly. So the first thing we're going to do is we say we're all right. We're going to do it on C, and I'm gonna I'll build a C minor voicing. I'll do C minor 9, B flat, D, E flat, G, or G minor 9 works well as well. Also works well. And what I'm going to do is go up to the 4th note of C, F, B flat, index finger, thumb, thumb, index finger, boom. So I want you to get that rhythm: 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 3. And notice what I'm doing with that index finger. That's money. That's where it all happens. A 3 and a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E. And now, if I'm going to go to an F minor, which would be, the 4 of a C minor blues, right? If I'm going to do that, well, what note am I going to start on for my F minor? Same thing. I go up to the 4th note, and I go to the flat 7, just like I did on C. So on an F minor, there's my 4, there's my flat 7, and then there's my major 7 of F, just as a passing tone, 5th, and there's my octave that you were just talking about. So we have this. All right, so isn't that cool? Just the idea of using your thumb there and your index finger. That's where it all happens right there. You want to be able to do that in all keys. The other thing is, great players do this all the time, and there are some really fantastic players out there. But if you think about the time is going by, this is one of the things I tell my students, is that the time is going by. Like, often we think we have to play everything in the world and keep our bass lines going and doing all this stuff. But really, like, if you think in a groove setting, your time is going by. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3, 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2. See what I just did? I went 3E and a 4E and a 1. A 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E, a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E, 1 and a 2E and a 3E and there's that rhythm. And 4E and O. So I had to be thinking about that in my mind, like, where does that come in? 1E and a 2E and a 3E and the of 3, 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 1E and and you go. Same thing you could do just for practice. Practice against that. I kind of like that sound for this better. That's another good thing to practice, is just rocking the octave back and forth. All right, a few more questions. Anyone have any more questions about practicing or anything? And I think I will do a fun stream late tonight. I might do some saxophone or trumpet or something like that. Just go over some ideas and some tunes, and maybe play some blues and a couple standards and things like that. I might even take some requests just for fun, even though I'm not truly a saxophone or a trumpet player or a flute player or any other instruments. I just do it for fun. Any other questions? Rapid fire. That's right. 1 to 2 And I actually did not do what I should have done, was had the metronome on demonstrating this. But that's cool. Let me see. What time is it now? Can't believe it's almost 10. I'm thinking realistically, man, I didn't realize it was that late. Is 11:30 too late? I guess I could do super early in the morning. Yeah, and I love if you guys have any kind of questions regarding practice or theory or anything like that. It comes to technique, improvisation, whatever. I'm more than happy to help. I love that kind of stuff. All right. So let's see. That's right. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, definitely email me, Bob at iMusic Academy. Tell me what your interests are, what kind of tutorials that you guys would like me to make. And, there are always kinds of things you can do to help me out. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm on Twitter as well. I have lots of students. I love to give lessons, and I would give anyone who's interested in learning a little more, getting a little more serious, I'll give anyone a free lesson to kind of get you going. And if it wasn't me, I'd point you in the right direction to find the right teacher. The other thing is I do have some fun little courses and things at imusicacademy.com. But most importantly right now, I'd love to hear from you guys. Tell me what you're interested in. I'll make videos accordingly. Bob at imusicacademy.com. Thank you so much. I was looking at the chat. Normally I look at you guys, but I hope y'all have an awesome night. I may do a late night stream tonight. Just set up some notifications if you guys are up. And I'm always doing a lot of fun things. If you would tell me, you can email me, Bob at iMusic Academy, and tell me what instrument you would like me to play tonight. Awesome. Y'all have a nice